I'm thinking there's far more chance that a military retiree would show up than a
18-year-old? But remember we always, like, one of the golden rules of the Army, Murphy will always show up.
with all the corollaries. I love the corollaries. Some of them are really hilarious.
Freaking Murph.
None of this is my fault, by the way. That's quite an advance for me because I grew up Roman Catholic, and without knowing
Yeah,
it, that's mea culpa, mea culpa. Yeah, everything's my fault. I want the start. I want the Zoom. I want the sign in. Sign in. Meeting. I'm joining, so Toby, I think, is already here. I gotta make sure we get the speakers working properly this time. Hi, Toby. The question is, so it's got that speaker on. That's the one that we ended up with last class. So my guess is that that's working fairly well. All right. And it gave me a choice of something there. Interesting. Quest.
Man, I need to get a new computer.
How many of those do we have to have?
I know. I'm not the guy who gets the latest and greatest. I usually get the latest and greatest the year after it's the latest and greatest and ride it for years. And when it gets too outdated, I finally cave and get the newest thing. Before I switched this phone, I had my last phone for like 8 years. But then they changed so much that you don't have a choice. Like, in order to even use the thing, you have to get the updated versions.
So how am I doing, Toby? Are you there? You hear me?
Every time you talk to them, I imagine the
There's-
COVID days when I would be on meetings with my boss and whatnot, and it's like people would just be walking around their houses and whatever, half the time they're not even paying attention.
The little microphone icon here is going up and down, up and down, up and
Oh,
down.
so he's got his mic on. Or
Oh,
you
or
got
this
your-
is
no, you
this
got
is
your mic on.
yeah. So my hope is that we're in good shape here. I didn't change anything, and it doesn't look like anybody else did.
No, I'd say that green pulse right there that every time my voice goes up is probably a good sign.
Yeah, what I've noted is in the videos that I've been uploading, that when people in the classroom speak, they're usually audible enough that it gives the text, subtext.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I've watched your videos though, and I can hear me in it, so I'm pretty sure they can hear you in it.
Right. Oh, well, I think that's where the microphone is. Over there. Although,
That makes sense.
there's also a microphone there, and there, and there.
Maybe it collects from all.
I don't know. That's, I saw a schematic of how the room was set up, I probably wouldn't understand it. But yeah, I you know, heck, I don't know how to bake a cake, let alone. That's probably not true. I could probably bake a cake as long as the ingredients were all put together in one box.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at.
And I wouldn't have to start from scratch and try to guess what ingredients ought to be in there. I do know
I have
cakes
instructions, I'm good.
need ingredients. You have to have ingredients in order
The
to
right
bake.
ratios.
Yeah. I've never left a cake out in the rain. And it took so long to bake it. I'll never have that recipe again. Sorry, it's a terrible song. Sung by Richard Harris, one of his albums.
I don't know that one. Wait, it sounds familiar.
Yeah, he was a singer as well as an actor. And he's gone. And we'll never have that recipe again. This evening, I'm planning on physically attending a lecture at APU.
Oh, cool.
It's the Newman Center, a lecture by the Newman Chair, Greg. I don't remember his last name, but he's talking about Tolkien and Tolkien's works.
Greg Hartley.
Aha.
He's my teacher next class. I was gonna go on Friday, but I'm gonna be in Seward.
So where do you have him, and what is your class?
Writing across context is the class. Yeah. Yeah, he put out an invite Tuesday.
To the same thing?
Yeah.
So that's him then.
Yeah.
So,
I got his book too. He had a book fair not long ago, and I went to support that, and I didn't know he had written a portion of a book about Tolkien, and I picked up that book. I haven't read his section yet, 'cause I haven't had time.
the position he has, I thought was a full-time position at APU funded by the Roman Catholic Church, because isn't he the Newman Chair?
I don't know
Okay.
anything about that.
So I'm surprised that he's teaching a writing
He's a
course.
professor here.
That's interesting. Maybe I'm wrong about him being the Newman. What I'm going by is the email with the notice. But I read the article that Toby Whitcomb is a fellow retiree. I don't know what we're not cousins. We're
Yeah.
fellow humans.
Yeah.
So, are we it? You think it's almost 10 o'clock?
It's looking that way, but
We
we
might-
always get stragglers like 5-10 minutes after. I can't. What's her name? I always forget it. I always forget everybody's names. But she usually shows up like 5-10 minutes after when she does.
Yeah. I saw her yesterday. I was reading at the Rasmussen Hall, waiting for my daughter to finish her class. And she was there. But I know Maeve's name, but that's not who you're talking about. Colin.
I haven't seen those two in a long time.
I know a lot of the names
Caleb.
on
Maeve, or no, Caleb's there. Maeve.
Elaine, Chloe, Toby, Caleb. There's 7 altogether. Will and Ethan. So we've got way more crowd on Zoom than we have here.
Oh yeah.
But that's fine. That's what it's for, actually.
Right.
And considering what's the temperature today?
It's like 5 degrees out there or something.
And it's supposed to snow,
Is it?
according to the weather app here.
I didn't even look.
So, well, where I wanted to start today was
In 19.
working on the topic that we had last class, and that is moral argument. And we essentially ended up. I started the class saying it would be exciting and depressing at the same time. Exciting, I thought, because, well, talking about values by definition is the most exciting thing we can get into, because it's by definition the best topic, because you're arguing over what's best,
Right.
and it doesn't get better than that. I mean, it's just, at least when talking about language and talking about Wittgenstein and the idea that your judgment of your values is essentially an opinion, and it being an opinion, it's not like gravity or mathematics, things that we consider to be
Objective.
a fact. I mean, it might be a fact that you have a particular value, and we might even be able to determine that value comes from your peers, your past history, your individual history. If it were a different country, you might be able to statistically demonstrate that the person's values are the same values as everyone else in their village.
I think that's what values are. I mean, culture is. It's a commonality of value or view. It's just a large group of people that have shared common interests or shared common values, and those range. Country, we say country or city or this or that, but really it's groups of people.
I remember in one of Peter Berger's books, and I'm trying to think which book it was. That particular book was the title was the heretical imperative. The heretical imperative, and his argument, very slender book. All of his books are. Peter Berger. But the heretical imperative argued that being an American, growing up in a culture that argues that you have the right to choose what you believe. You have the right to choose your own religion. For example, in the army, you're asked, okay, what religion are you? And that's because they want to put it on your dog tag, so that when you're
Last rites.
you get the right chaplain.
Yeah.
And you can pick atheist. You can pick none. I don't know what choices you have today.
Non-believer and atheist are like, they're treated synonymously, so whenever you say atheist, they just put none on your dog tags.
Interesting.
Unless you
Well,
adamantly refuse otherwise.
Yeah, I was a Roman Catholic, and so I think it just said Catholic or something. But the question posed to each soldier, or in a statistical survey, what's your religion? You might be asked legitimately. It's no one, I think, claims it's none of your business, although you can do that, of course. But the idea that you can say, I believe in this religion, or none, or whatever, is part of your legal right in this country. In fact, you don't have any choice.
Right. So we're back.
You can't just say, I don't have any choice, I'm, Roman Catholic.
Yeah, you have to choose.
Well, I mean, theoretically, of course, I was born to a pair of Roman Catholics. both whom went to Roman Catholic high schools, met at a Catholic dance in Philadelphia when they had me, which it's pretty neat. They went on their honeymoon to Atlantic City. They bought a postcard of the hotel, and they drew on the postcard, here's where we are, which is the top left window of the hotel.